Hey everyone, welcome to Buzzing About Romance, a quick shot of romance. I am Becky, and joining me for this episode is Leah. Hi, Leah.
Hi, Becky.
So I picked this title this time because I saw it was trending on the Amazon charts, and luckily you had read it already.
I did because I came across a TikTok that it drew me in. And so then I pulled a Leah and I downloaded it, and then I went to that specific scene. I was like, oh, let me read the book.
This was my first book by this author. Had you read this author previous?
I actually read the other Lasker Brothers,
Okay.
which is the previous books in this series.
So on this quick shot of romance, we are reading Contractually Yours by Nadia Lee. We'll link the synopsis of this book in our on the shelf show notes at buzzingaboutromance.com. Leah, give us the breakdown.
Okay, so this book was released May 18th, 2023. The tropes are marriage of convenience, childhood crush, enemies to lovers, age gap, billionaire, alpha hole. It is a slow burn. They kind of are opposites attract. It is from the Lasker Brothers book 3. It is a series of standalones. It is dual first person point of view, and the put out percentage is 48%. And there is a third act breakup because Sebastian has to even the scales. And if you read the book, you'll understand what that means.
We're gonna get to that because I got
Yeah.
thoughts. Okay, so let's talk about our hero first. So guys, just so we're clear, this was a 3-star read.
Mm-hmm.
So this review is going to be a little bit more critical.
A little bit.
Because there's a couple things that everything was there to make this a 4 or 5-star read for us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
It
it
just felt a little flat.
just fell flat. And so part of the reason that we picked to do this quick shot is because we need to figure out why this fell flat. And so what you are going to come up against here is a typical conversation about a book that we have 6, 7 times a week over the phone.
Yeah. Because on a typical quick shot, we don't always talk about those books, so we don't love.
Yeah.
And so,
But I
but
didn't,
Becky and I break them down a lot when we're FaceTiming
yeah,
every day.
I didn't hate this. I just am still kind of like, huh?
Yeah. Well, in having read the other books in the series, I felt the same way. And I keep going back to them because I'm like, maybe this will be the one that really draws me and really makes me excited at the end of it. Because they are well written
They're
books.
well written, they're well edited, and the
Mm-hmm.
pacing is fine. There isn't a pacing issue. I didn't see, like in this book in particular, because this is the only one I read,
Mm-hmm.
there weren't any giant plot holes that were left
No.
open, and there wasn't any pieces that I was kind of like, where'd that come
Yeah.
from?
But you're left wanting more.
Well, so let's talk about Sebastian because these are a couple of things that have come up. So first I want to talk, his character is incredibly inconsistent.
He's kind of all over the page,
Like
all over the place.
it was very like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde or whatever it is.
Well, it's almost as if the author wasn't sure how to write him, and so she kind of picked a couple different things because he does not want to get married. He does not want to marry Luce. He is very against the whole thing. He has this whole revenge plot, but then he is incredibly jealous, over the top jealous
And
a
in
lot of times.
crazy amounts of intense possessiveness.
Mm-hmm.
But I think part of it is he's manipulated by his family into this contract for marriage.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be this incredibly smart businessman running the family empire. It did not make sense to me how
Mm-hmm.
he would be so easily manipulated by his family.
Well, And the fact, because like, so the basis of like his family is his dad is this movie star who like
Big time
basically impregnated,
producer. Yeah.
yeah, producer, but basically impregnated like 6 or 7 women all at the same time. So like he has multiple brothers and they're all around the same age.
Yeah.
And so they hate the dad,
They hate the
but
dad.
like, but they won't cut the dad off. Like he still shows up. Like they have this weird relationship with
Yeah.
him.
And his mother's family owns this jewelry company that's like
Hmm.
a Tiffany's or Cartier high
Yeah.
end jewelry company, diamonds,
Yeah.
and has an international footprint.
Hmm.
Our heroine, and he's running the jewelry company, but he's also been really smart and made other investments. And he runs the family jewelry company just because he has a passion for it. But he has
Hmm.
other monies. He doesn't need the money from the diamond company.
Right.
And our heroine, Lucine,
Lucine.
they call her Luce in the book. She has her family, her grandfather, her maternal grandfather owns a competing jewelry company that
Hmm.
is European based. So, like if
Yeah.
Tiffany's is US based, Cartier is the European based.
Yeah.
And all of the
And
family,
she wants to make it more and basically merge these two relationships,
right.
business relationships.
And she's kind of under this umbrella of old world thinking. From her grandfather has passed, her mother has passed, and the money is hers, but she's like 25 or 26 in the book.
She's pretty young, but there's conditions to things.
Right. So she can't run the company. Her father is her um regent basically. He rules everything. Her war or
Hmm.
her guardian or something.
Yeah, it's
It
strange.
is very strange, but it has to do with where the grandfather had incorporated the company in
Hmm.
a certain country and their old world views. It
Well, and it's one
was
of those
weird.
things where like I mean he's kind of a trash person and he doesn't treat her well. Like she's smart. She knows what she's doing. She has studied,
But
but
is
at the
she
same time,
smart?
I think she is smart, but I think that she has been so smothered and not in a good way that she does not trust the fact that she is capable of doing things.
But
Like she
she's
knows the business and she's studied it, but she's so insecure.
so her mother and father, it was her father's second marriage. He
Hmm.
married her mother after the mother got pregnant. They had had an affair or something. Mother got pregnant. They got married. To the
Hmm.
marriage, he brings these two older stepchildren who are complete trash.
The
And
worst.
he wants the family wealth, and they act like they get access to the family wealth. But really, everybody gets their family wealth through her and her trust because
Hmm.
the grandfather left all the money to Luce. She didn't leave it to the mother that it then went on to this husband. Instead, it went to Luce directly.
But
And
not really though at the same time.
no, but her step siblings are trash. Her
Hmm.
father is trash. And
Yeah.
she continually just lets them get away with things. Like there were so many times in this book, especially even to Sebastian and some of the shit he pulls,
Hmm.
I wanted her to stand up for herself,
Yeah.
to have a temper tantrum. You can be a princess and, wave kindly from the corner, but at some point you have a right to throw the glass vase at somebody's fucking head.
Well, and I think part of the problem is like with her, the way the character was written, like supposedly she's this party girl who like makes really bad decisions and like she's in the tabloids, but that's not really who she is, but she never corrects anything. Like she just lets people think the worst of her. That she allows them to think that she is this airheaded nincompoop who doesn't know like left from right. And I think that's the big thing. Like she just lets everyone crap on her. Like she doesn't get a backbone until like the end of the book.
But it
But it's not
started
even
to
she doesn't
feel
get a
like
backbone.
but it started to feel like incompetence, almost too stupid to live vibes.
Almost, yeah. But I think it's just because she's been so there's nobody who's ever put her first. There's nobody who's ever like built her up and gave her like, you're doing a great job. Like it's always what she should do differently or what she can do for them. Like it's always, there's always conditions to everything in her life. And I think like her entire life, she's just waiting for people to disappoint
Yeah, and I struggled with that because you have that on top of the two faces of Sebastian.
her. Mm-hmm.
It just never was there a moment when they were absolutely together that I was like, okay, this is where they're meant to be. This is the
Mm-hmm.
person they're with. Because it just felt like everything was on unstable ground. Like a like a balancing on a ball. At any moment it's
Mm-hmm.
going to tip one way or the other and you're not sure if it's the wind or if the ground moved or you moved or what. And it created this kind of wobbly reading. I
Well,
say
and there's
that
also this like underlying like revenge plot for Sebastian where he's like she's making me marry her. So I'm gonna get back at her and like steal the one thing that like is important to her.
so before I get into this though, I want to do say I do hate when an author writes trope of basically, and this is a micro trope,
Hmm.
that everybody hates the female character.
Yeah.
That no matter what room she comes into, everybody in the room hates her. And it's only the hero that sees the good in her, or the people outside the room that see her for who she is. And that bugs me.
Hmm.
That bugs me.
Well,
And it bugged me a lot in this book.
well, and the fact that like she doesn't really have friends. Like she has work colleagues. She has her assistant who is her best friend,
Bianca.
supposedly, who's also kind of a trash person, like when you think about it. Like I didn't like her from the get-go.
I didn't
But
either.
like
Well,
but
okay,
she
so let's talk
has
about the writing style a little bit because that plays into Bianca.
mhm,
So there was this book is an absolutely the author telling us everything instead
mhm,
of showing us
yeah.
to the point that it was wooden
Mhm,
and predictable.
yeah. Like I was waiting for what happened to happen. But it was one of those things where like there was no there wasn't a lot like there's just so much this is what he did. He moved his left hand slowly to her. Like there was no like the way in which it was described was very clinical
Yeah, there was no
almost.
surprises, there wasn't a ton of emotion, and there wasn't anything outstanding. There was
Although
never
until like the thing with the brothers, like when that happened, like I felt like
I will
that part of the story, like I you got like Luce's heartbreak, but that was like one scene.
I will say the in the pantry with her
Mm,
stepbrother.
yeah,
That was a very intense moment. And
yeah,
like I thought, okay, this is we're going. She's gonna stand up, he's gonna come in,
yeah.
and yes, no.
And then you were let down.
And then there's this whole revenge plot. And like I could have forgiven the best friend had it been linked to the coworker former love interest. Like she was
Hmm.
being manipulated because again, how do you allow someone to be in your life for so long that hates you and you
Yeah,
never pick up on it? Like how dumb are you?
yeah.
Um okay, but in the revenge plot, here's my biggest struggle with this whole book. In
Well,
the
there was a lot
resolution,
going on.
well,
There was
but
a lot going on.
he grovels. He does a really great grovel.
He does grovel well.
But even in the end, all of the victories that should have been hers were
Weren't
really
hers.
his. And they were
Hmm.
contributed to him and not to her. And I'm going to be honest, that made me a little fucking ragey
Hmm.
because she deserved to have all the credit. She shouldn't have had to have him stand up and say she should be allowed back in the company. She
Well,
never should
because
have
like
been out of the company.
that's the thing. Like she never should have lost in the first place because she proved like through this book, like she was capable, she was able, she was not a dummy. Like she knew what she was doing. Like she had good ideas. And then it was like, well, it's too late now.
She
Sorry, friend.
she only gets resolution. She only gets things because he allowed it to happen.
Hmm.
He did magic to make it happen for her. And
Like I wanted her to go after it herself.
I wanted those victories for her, and instead, and in a part it makes sense because in this book she is inundated with neglect and hate. And I
Hmm.
felt bad for her and sadness. Like she must have been the character's written with some overwhelming sadness in her character arc.
Hmm.
But she never stands up for herself.
No. Because even when the whole revenge thing like comes to a head, like she basically is like, okay, you win. Like I'm out.
Yeah.
Like there was nothing. Like you felt like her turmoil and you felt her heartbreak. But even after that, like she didn't do anything about it. She was just like, okay.
And we didn't
Like
talk.
he wins. Like he
He
wins.
wins. And we didn't talk. They actually had a meet cute when she was 13 or 14. And it's not a
Hmm.
meet cute. They had a
Well, it's a moment.
happenstance, a
A
moment.
happenstance. It's in the prologue.
She was in Paris with her family. He was in Paris on business, and they run into each other. And he kind of
Hmm.
protects her and cares for her and gets her home. And he leaves behind something with her. And in their dark moment, she finally confesses that she's
Hmm.
the girl from Paris.
Yeah.
And it's this big moment that has defined her. What little backbone she has was from that moment in Paris, the evening the scales.
Yeah.
But outside of that prologue, in that one issue where she fesses up and she doesn't even vocalize it,
Hmm.
there's no other story points, plot pieces that bring up the Paris meeting other than evening the
Other than he
scales.
doesn't, well, and other than like he doesn't remember me. Like he doesn't know who I am.
Yeah.
Like she talks about it, but like they never like have a conversation like after
So
she tells him.
so in the beginning of the episode I said there were no plot holes. I guess there is this one. The
Well, is it a
significance of
plot?
Paris.
Yeah. But I mean, she talks about it, but it's not a conversation between the two of them. And I think that's the big thing. Like it's not really a plot hole, is more of a you wanted more out of that resolution. Like you wanted him to have a different reaction to like the coat.
I just think that it would have helped us solidify their HEA. Because in the
Hmm.
end, what's going to make the 4 or the 5-star read for me is that you solidified that HEA, that I believe nothing is going to break it.
Yeah.
Again, I shouldn't need an epilogue for you to convince me of this.
Yeah.
And this book needed like 12 epilogues.
Yeah. It
Really,
does.
she needed to run away to Paris and fuck him and get rid of him because I was kind of mad about it.
Hmm. I mean, he does grovel well. I
He
will give her
did
that.
grovel well, and he deserved a second chance. I'm not saying he didn't deserve a second chance. I just hate that what should have been her victories were
Hmm.
his.
Yeah.
I just wanted more for her. So I'm not interested in reading the other brother characters. You read the other brothers.
Hmm.
Will
They're
you?
very, I mean, I don't know if I'm going to read more because they've all been very similar in like the writing style. Just, it doesn't pull me in. Like I haven't, there's just always something about these like the characters in these books. I'm like, I want more from them. Like
Well,
I feel you like you could get more depth and you could get more substance to the characters. And we're just, it's very surface.
yeah. So here's my question to our listeners. Nadia Lee has always, her books, when they release, they sit on top of the Amazon charts
Hmm.
often. And these are Kindle Unlimited books. So people are reading these. I mean, she has a following. If you have a Nadia Lee book that is your favorite, that you think is exceptional, that doesn't have any big glaring problems, or is so, you just think that this HEA is one of the best HEAs you've ever read, please send us that title. I would like to
Yeah.
give her another chance, but I
Hmm.
am very hesitant walking in because there were so many things in this book that I was just like, I'm going to throw my fucking Kindle. I'm just mad.
Yeah. I will say I skipped around a little bit. Like I did not read the book in order.
It,
I did one of those things where I just jump around because I couldn't control myself with this book. So I was like, so I started and then I started with like the piece that I saw on the TikTok, and then I went back to the beginning, and then I went to the end, and I went back to like chapter 6 or something. And then I jumped around. I read the whole book. I just did not read it in
in order.
order.
You're insane.
And that is a toxic trait, people. It is my toxic trait when it comes to books, that I will read an entire book. I just may not read it in the correct order.
Oh my God, you're insane. Anyway, hey Leah, thanks for hanging out and talking about Contractually Yours with me.
It's always a good time to
Always.
talk about books.
Always.
Always.
Until next time, everyone.
Happy reading, everybody.
Find us on Instagram at Buzzing About Romance or on Twitter at Buzzing Romance. If you like the podcast, please leave a review. If you'd like to support us directly, join the Bookcase and Coffee Patreon and receive exclusive content only available to Patreon members. Check out bookcaseandcoffee.com for our on-the-shelf show notes.